Hello and welcome to Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street, the podcast that helps independent retailers open up the doors of opportunity. I am your host, Patrick Kaiser. We are back after a week's hiatus while I was at the Gift and Home Trade Show in Atlanta. This was an incredibly productive week at the trade show. I was able to meet lots of contacts with rep groups and vendors. I was given the opportunity to talk about Heart on Main Street and what we're doing from an education perspective and the donations that we're making to areas impacted by natural disasters. As the organization has grown, this is really narrowed to be our focus. The organization is focused and dedicated to helping retailers grow and expand their business so they can be the best retailers that they can be. We are trying to do this by providing well-rounded education and connecting retailers to experts in their respective fields through our Friends of Main Street network, and our growth is really a testament to the potential and power of our mission. I'll admit that when I first founded the organization, I had grandiose ideas of raising tons of money to give to retailers to help them evolve their business and become what they dream about. Dreams of making main streets across America full of chic, 21st century modern businesses with fresh new looks and new technology, the newest displays complete with the newest merchandising techniques. Dream big, shoot for the moon, and all that jazz, right? Well, I quickly found out that really no one wants to fund that because, well, capitalism. There is a strong belief that if people want these things, they should invest in them themselves. And if they can't afford to do so, well, then that's maybe evidence that they aren't running their business successfully, and it isn't meant to be. Now, to be clear, I do not believe this. I understand that there are a lot of things that stand in the way of dreams becoming realities, especially for small businesses. There are many factors at play that work against small businesses, but this is maybe the common perception that many have. So this is where education capacity really takes its foothold. If I cannot pay for retailers to evolve their businesses, then I can make the necessary information accessible to retailers so that they can attempt to do it themselves. Because a dream without a roadmap remains a dream. But if you have someone to show you the way, then it becomes a journey. And journeys are a lot more fun to take than just dreaming. This is not to say that people do not want to give, or that people who are able to give do not want to help out small businesses or see the value in small businesses. When a disaster happens, people are quick to give and are quick to lend a hand. They want to help these areas rebuild. They want to help retailers recover and remain a part of their community. This purpose strikes a chord. Truly, it has burrowed its way into my heart that when I hear of a store that's been affected, it hurts me in ways that I didn't think it really would. These are people's livelihoods. For many, it is their sole source of income. They have everything they own really wrapped into the success of this store, and for no fault of their own, they've lost it all. And our organization is just focused on the store. There's some that have lost housing and personal effects, as well as so much trauma and grief. Thankfully, there are well-established groups like Red Cross and FEMA that provide housing and food for people affected by natural disasters. But store owners are left to fight with their insurance companies to get some percentage of the value of the store back, and then wait for everything to get rebuilt so they can resume their lives. So when I talk to people about our organization like I did in Atlanta, I focus on that. I want others to understand the pain that retailers go through after a disaster. I want people to know what it's like to lose everything and be told you can only get a percentage of it back. I want people to imagine leaving a business one night, a business that they built by themselves, and waking up the next day, or maybe even in the middle of the night, and have nothing left. To get a notification and watch your store's security camera footage from your phone as the windows break. Debris flies through the air. Products and displays that you've worked so hard on slide across the ground, and you watch helplessly, praying that it will stop, that something will intervene on your behalf, until the camera cuts out, and then you're just left to wonder for the rest of the night about your fate. and then the months and months of turmoil and frustration that lay ahead. Heart on Main Street wants to help all independent retailers grow and succeed in their business, but helping these retailers and these communities become whole again and have hope again is where our hearts are. This is a long-winded way of saying that the discussions I had in Atlanta were very productive. We have a lot of hope to be able to help more retailers in the near future, and we couldn't do this without your support too. Your interest, your donations, your advocacy, they all play a crucial role in our mission. The last donation that we made was really funded by independent retailers. People like you gave, and we were able to help out a retailer who has just lost their store. We are deeply grateful for your support and look forward to making a real difference together. But today's episode is not about that. The main focus of today's episode is a little road trip that I recently took to Door County, Wisconsin to visit the Main Street retailers of Sturgeon Bay. I was slightly familiar with Door County before my visit there. Door County is well known for their cherries, at least in my part of the country. I'm not sure really about the national spread of Door County cherries, but all around me, they are known for being the best. I've also known it's a great vacation area for people in the upper Midwest region. I actually recently saw an article, it was actually after my trip, that compared Door County to Cape Cod in terms of the geographic features and popularity as a tourist destination. And then over the last year since the birth of Little Miss Main Street, my wife and I have become viewers of the show Top Chef. We binge watched 21 seasons of the fine dining culinary contest in about 12 months, with the latest season taking place in the state of Wisconsin. And this season they went to Door County to participate in something that the area is famous for, a fish boil. I have known of Door County, but I've never been to Door County before, so this was my first entry point into the area. And I chose to visit the largest town, by the way, that town is about less than 10,000 people, Sturgeon Bay. For those unfamiliar with the region, Door County is the majority of a peninsula that juts off the mainland of Wisconsin. Everyone talks about how Michigan looks like a mitten, and Michiganders will often refer to towns by using their hand as a map. Well, Wisconsin kind of does too. If you take your right hand and face it towards you, and then tilt it slightly to the left and jut your thumb out from your hand at the top knuckle, that's roughly Wisconsin. It's a very crude map, but in this map, Green Bay is where your thumb separates from your hand, and just about the rest of the upper part of your thumb is Door County. Door County is then bisected by water called Sturgeon Bay. And in the middle of the peninsula, on this body of water, is of course where the town of Sturgeon Bay exists. For my visual people, as I talk about Sturgeon Bay, if you want to follow along and look at the visuals of the town, you can visit our Instagram page and find Sturgeon Bay under the highlights. There you can see all of the pictures of the town and in my trip there. The town is known for boating and fishing since it's on not only Green Bay and Sturgeon Bay and Lake Michigan. Yes, there are sturgeon, but it's actually really best known for its bass fishing, which was confusing to me at least. This is represented throughout the downtown by the first thing that I noticed when I arrived in Sturgeon Bay. Almost every store had a fiberglass fish out front. Each design for the fish is individually submitted by the store owners and usually designed by themselves or by someone that they know. It was a lot of fun interacting with the store owners of Sturgeon Bay because as much as they were excited to show off their store, they were equally excited to show off their fish and tell me the meaning behind the design or who had done it for them. There was a great pride in the fiberglass fish that was on a stand on the sidewalk outside the store. I love things like this that communities do to bring owners and merchants together. It creates a unity and a friendly competition amongst each other. Who can have the best design? Whose fish is prettiest? Who gets tagged the most on social media? There are endless ways for the community to have fun with these type of things. I've seen other communities do these things to tie it to their culture and attractions. I immediately think of Saratoga Springs. a town that does so many things right in building excitement in their downtown. Over the years, they have done fiberglass ballet slippers to celebrate the National Museum of Dance. They've had horses to celebrate the racetrack there. Many of the stores have little jockeys out front painted in the store's brand colors. And then these pieces of art can also serve as a greater purpose as well. Sturgeon Bay will eventually auction off its fish for charity. So I love that they do this to connect the culture of the area and to create something fun for the shop owners and visitors to participate in. They also become talking points. It is in interacting with the store owners that I learned about Sturgeon Bay's prowess as a bass fishing hub. Since I am not someone who fishes, I assume that the fish all around the streets of Sturgeon Bay were sturgeon. That makes logical sense, right? Nope, bass. I probably should have been able to recognize that fish from those motion-censored singing Billy the Big Mouth Bass novelty items from years ago, but honestly, it wasn't even on my radar to think about anything but a sturgeon. Anyway, enough about fish. We're here to talk about the retailers, and there were some great ones in Sturgeon Bay. It is a beautiful downtown full of color and vibrancy. For being a tourist town in a lake town, I didn't find the typical tourist shops that you sometimes see. Ones that sell 500 different varieties of the same shirt with the town name and neon colors. I am all for towns promoting themselves, but there's also an overkill aspect to where it actually takes away from the uniqueness of the town. Sturgeon Bay was devoid of these tourist shops. There were stores that sold products that focused on the town and the lake life that exists there, but these products were naturally incorporated into the offerings and didn't seem out of place or unusual. So to start talking about retailers, I'm going to start at a place where I usually omit, an antique and consignment store. There are a lot of good antique stores in the towns that I visit, and they are small, independently owned retail stores. I have to admit, though, that I find them less interesting to talk about. They're not my ideal focus. I think they're fun to peruse, and if you know what you're looking for, you can probably have some great finds there. Antique hunting is a hobby for a lot of people who love to do it. However, when it is recommended to me that I go to a town and visit their antique stores, I'd just rather not. So why is the Door County Traders Antiques and Consignment Mall different? Well, first and foremost, it was the outside appearance. It is a beautiful looking store from the street. A beautiful white building with dark blue trim and light blue accents. It looked well manicured and taken care of. It didn't look like a standard antique store, which, let's face it, generally look like from the outside as though you're going to walk into your grandparents' attic. They're dusty and cluttered and looked as though they sell old people's crap. This was miles away from that. The sign on the front stuck out perpendicularly from the building. It was creatively branded to represent a 1950s diner-style logo, perfect for their store and their brand. Everything about it screamed modern and fresh except for the products inside. I cannot emphasize enough that the store experience starts outside your building. It is the first and foremost thing that people see about your store. It will create the memory of the store. I did not want to go inside, but I found myself drawn to the store over and over as I walked down the streets because of the aesthetic. The inside was well done. It was styled more like a retail store than an antique store. There were parts that were overcrowded with merchandise, but the first floor especially left room for customers to navigate and explore easily. I ended up buying some baseball cards from the year I was born because I figured that they did enough to get me inside the store that I could at least spend like $8 on a few pack of cards. But this is a sale that they would not have made without the investment into the outside experience of the store. And who knows how many other sales this has created as well. So I just wanted to call out Door County Trader Antiques. I don't usually highlight antique stores, and I don't usually go into antique stores for Main Street Monday, but this one was different. The first store that I visited in Sturgeon Bay was a kitchen shop called Cornucopia. I love the name of the store for what it represents. A cornucopia can mean an abundance of things, but it also is a decorative table fixture, usually a large horn overflowing with fruits and vegetables. You can probably picture it in your head, that you see during large gatherings. This idea symbolizes bringing people together around food, which is exactly what this store aims to do as well. Cornucopia, the store, featured beautiful Polish pottery pieces and other serving dishes for dining. They also had an abundance of Nora Fleming servingware and their minis. Speaking of Nora Fleming, I've mentioned this in the past, but Nora Fleming has just launched a brand new benefit item to benefit Heart on Main Street. One of their product lines is a silicone band that adds color and flair to serving dishes. They're also made so that their minis can still be attached through the band. Proceeds of their new purple band will go directly to Heart on Main Street to allow us to support retailers in need. These are now available to purchase either through your local Nora Fleming sales rep, through their wholesale website, or for consumers through norafleming.com. Cornucopia also featured high-end baking dishes, kitchen gadgets, cookbook, dish towels, and all of the things necessary to fill out your kitchen. One element that I really loved about this store was a vintage stove, probably from like the 1950s or 60s, that was used as a display piece. It was a gorgeous old piece that embodied the mid-century modern style. The way that it was displayed with spoon rests on the stovetop and baking dishes that were in view and a cookbook on top opened up to a recipe made it feel like it was still in use. You could picture this piece with all the items in your home. It was really brilliantly done. I can imagine someone asking whether or not they can just take the whole thing home with them. My next stop was at Wilkins & Oleander, which is a tremendous apparel store in town. The store has been a fixture in Sturgeon Bay for almost 35 years, which is an incredible accomplishment. Nationally, a third of retail stores are out of business within 3 years. Over half of stores are out of business within 5 years. Only a third make it to 10 years. So any independent retail store that you see in a community that's been there for 20 or 30 years really is an incredible achievement. Wilkins & Oleander featured women's and children's apparel, casual wear, as well as dressier items for women, not like cocktail dresses, but more like something nice to go out to dinner in Lake Town. Perfectly suited for the customer and the environment that surrounds Sturgeon Bay. They also had a lot of lake life attire and items that represented either the Midwest, Wisconsin, Door County, or Sturgeon Bay itself. As I mentioned before, nothing outlandish or over-the-top touristy, but well-done, tasteful items that showed pride in the area and would be nice to pick up whether you're visiting or local to the area. They also had a great collection of sweaters, which you probably think sweaters in the summertime, but it's for those surprisingly cool evenings out on the lake. And so whether you're familiar with the area or not, you might be taken by surprise and need to go pick up a sweater for the nighttime. Near the back of the store, they had a good collection of children's clothing, games, books, and toys. The strategy of having children's items within view of the women's clothing I believe to be a brilliant stroke. I can only imagine how many mothers have come in to shop for themselves and have been pulled away by their little ones to look at items that appeal to them. And if you're there to pick up an outfit, why not grab a new outfit for the little kiddo too? They also featured more giftable items, seasonal products, and jewelry too. It was a well-rounded collection of goods that had an appeal for all genders and age groups. They've set themselves up well to survive 35 years in the town and hopefully 35 years more. My next stop was at Barn Door Quilts. I've mentioned this before, but I have become such a fan of quilting stores, a category relatively unknown to me before I started my Main Street Mondays, but I have become fascinated by the passion of quilters and the art and technique that goes into quilting. While at Barn Door Quilts, I had wonderful conversations with not only the owner of the store, but a couple of the customers as well about quilting and my newfound love for the art. In the past, I probably would have called it a hobby, but it really is an art. The biggest thing that I've learned to recognize is the multi-dimensional aspect of the art. To someone who doesn't know what to look for, you might look at a quilt and see the colors or the image depending on the appearance of the quilt. I will likely use the wrong terminology because I'm still learning more as well, but you start viewing it at a surface level. However, the art aspect comes from the stitching and the repetition and the designs of the stitching. How the way it is put together can reflect the pattern or supplement the surface image. Picture, if you will, a quilt made of patches of blue and tiny boats. This gives the impression of a lake scene. But the stitch work, being rolling waves, adds texture to the body of the water. Suddenly, it is not a flat image, but a dynamic scene taking place. This is some of the appreciation that I've learned and gained from the art. And quilting stores are wonderful teachers. They want you to learn and appreciate and be a part of their art, which is exciting. It's not exclusionary, it's supportive. While I was in Barn Door Quilts, a few people approached the owner and asked to have their passport stamped. This piqued my interest, so I asked what it was all about. Each summer, over the last several summers, Wisconsin quilting stores have been participating in a shop hop, and quilters can obtain a passport that encourages them to visit different quilt shops throughout the state. The state is broken down into 9 different sections, and if you visit each shop within a section, you're entered in for a prize. If you visit all 65 stores participating in the shop hop, you're entered to win an even bigger prize. So what an amazing way to encourage people who are interested in the art to travel and visit and experience other stores. Plus, another thing that I love about quilting stores is the names of them. There are so many puns, and boy, do I love puns. So many threads, so smart, so peaceful, so many pieces, and so much more. All SEW, by the way. Personally, I am yet to dive into the world of quilting myself. But stores like this have really inspired me to be a part of that community, so maybe one day. A couple quick shout-outs that rounded out my day in Sturgeon Bay. Novel Bay Books. I love independent bookstores. As a certified book nerd, they have my heart in a vice. They are such community builders. Right up front, Novel Bay showed off books of local book clubs, not only advertising that they had them in stock, but notifying outsiders of different book clubs that existed in the community and what they were currently reading. The store itself was a beautiful old building with incredible bay windows where they're great for displaying new reads. Funnily enough, while in the store, I ran into one patron who was traveling with her father from the West Coast and stopping in different towns across the country for fishing. She was telling the owner of the store that they had visited one area in Ely, Minnesota. This is where our friend Kara Pauliner of the Ely Mercantile is located, and we've been doing our shop talk conversation with her. So I asked if she had stopped in, and sure enough, she had. So a very small world moment, of all the gin joints in all the world, our worlds collided in a bookstore in Sturgeon Bay. My last 2 stops of the day were at children's stores, Fairy Tale Couture and Dancing Bear. Fairy Tale Couture is much more focused on children's clothing, while Dancing Bear was focused on toys and stuffies and games and books. So they really worked well together and didn't necessarily compete with each other. Fairy Tale has been in town for just over a year and a half, so really brand new to the scene, but doing so many things right. The owner does not come from a retail background like many new store owners, but she seemed to have good instincts for running the retail store. She was originally located off Main Street because it was a location that was available, but she was struggling to get the foot traffic necessary. Then, a storefront on Main Street opened up and she jumped at the chance to move herself into the heart of downtown. And ever since, business has been booming. She's active on social media and constantly keeps things fresh and new within her store. She has exclusive deals with some vendors so people can only get types of children's apparel at her store. She re-merchandises every month so that when people come back, there's a new, fresh look to the store. every week she sells out a new outfit complete with clothes, shoes, socks, and a corresponding small toy, and she calls it her outfit of the week to highlight different products and show how they can be matched or worn in different ways. She says that often the entire collection is bought all at once. She presents a completed product and her customers snatch it up without even thinking. On the other hand, Dancing Bear has been in Sturgeon Bay for 30 years. They have seen children become adults, become parents with their own children, and become repeat customers again. Dancing Bear has been a part of their lives the entire time. There's just a tremendous love in the store that is felt and appreciated by the staff. The joy that they've brought to their community, both the local and visitors to the areas, is unmeasurable. They've been there for generations of parents and children in Sturgeon Bay as a favorite and beloved store. Whether it's for the new Jellycat or Douglas Stuffies, new bedtime books, or new toys to help the child understand the world in different ways, they've made an impression on everyone that's entered. Sturgeon Bay was such a wonderful trip, accentuated by my visit with so many great retailers. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Next week, and yes, it will be next week, we have a conversation with Adam Schreier of Creative Co-op, Angela Schmuck of Roadrunners, Brian Schroeder of Creative Brands, and Maida Rensberger of One Coast, talking about how retailers can leverage relationships with their sales reps in order to get the most for their store. It was a really great discussion, and I can't wait to share it with you. Until next time, be safe, shop local, and have a great week. This episode was written, produced, researched, and edited by me, Patrick Kaiser. To learn more about Heart on Main Street, you can visit heartonmainstreet.org.